Great. So welcome everyone to the last session, last block of the day at our crisp day, 2023. And today we have Tomas Bjo, and Tomas, he's a big, passionate thinker. He spends a lot of time thinking about how to reinvent organizations and leadership for the future. That is one of his passion. We also do some teaching together, and I know you're a super appreciated teacher. You take concepts, kind of how to make them pedagogically easy to understand, and you're a fantastic storyteller. So I think you capture the audience. So and today, also what you should know about Tomas is he's also very interested in music. And actually, you might not know, but he actually used to work in a hi-fi store in his younger days. But I know he has still musical interest and goes a lot of concerts and music. So today, the topic is RenDanHeYi, and that is so intriguing story. It comes from the Chinese company Haier. I'm sure you will tell us all about that. So, Tomas, we're really eager to get to know about RenDanHeYi. I learned to pronounce it, I think. A management philosophy for innovative enterprises. So
yes.
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I didn't remember that I told you anything about me working in a music store, selling stereos and so on, but great. I just wish that I could produce my own music as well, or sing or something, but I can't. I can only listen to it. So, well, good to have a passion for that at least. So, hello everyone. Tomas is my name, and as Michael said, this will be something about this philosophy called RenDanHeYi. And but I would like to start with, yeah, as you can see my title here, Leadership and Organization Developer. The million-dollar question, billion-dollar question for us organizational developers is this actually. This idea that, or this, the facts kind of, that cities, when they are doubling in size, the productivity per person increases with 11%. But when companies double in size, it's actually the other way around. They are losing 15%. And the big question is why? Why is that happening? So one take on this, the reason why this is happening, is delegation. And the fact that there is balanced and unbalanced delegation. So if we start with balanced delegation, this is when you do something from your own pocket. That means that if you want to buy something expensive, you have to cut down on something else. So you take the pain and you take the benefits of that cost, kind of. The unbalanced is more or less what we usually have in companies. That means if you want to have something expensive, it's someone else who takes the cost, like the owners or some other department that you take money from their budgets or something like that. And to put it in another way, if I'm prompting you with this one, and let's say it's a really hot day, 30 degrees, and you're just very well hot, and you feel like, wow, and I offer you an ice cream saying, oh, would you like to have this ice cream? You will probably say, yes, please, give it to me. But then when I say, well, it costs 1,000 euros, maybe you don't want it anymore. And this is kind of, if you both have to take the pain of this cost and also the benefit, then you will be a little bit more careful of what you are picking, what you are doing or with your money. So the problem when we have this unbalance in most companies is that we need to set up a lot of extra rules. So, for instance, we have these ideas of steering committees taking the decisions, because we don't believe that the people can take the decisions themselves. They will probably just increase the cost. And then we have toll gates, making sure that we don't pass a special point before we go on to the next one. Or we have budgets, so you can spend as much as you want, as long as you are below a certain made-up sum. And all this creates some sort of micromanagement. And I think that is where we have this problem. The bigger we get, the further away the management are from where the real work happens, the more of those things we come up with. So there is actually a company that is trying to do something else. Instead of coming up with all those controlling parts, they are coming up with another idea. So this company is, as Michael said before, is HeYi. It's a big Chinese home appliance company. And maybe that is not the most important. The most interesting here is their philosophy called RenDanHeYi. And RenDanHeYi, it's actually 3 parts. The first part is Ren, which means people. And the idea is to move from order takers to, people just executing whatever they are asked to do, and move them into becoming entrepreneurs. The second part, the Dan, is to move the users, move them from being anonymous customers to becoming co-creators of the products and services. And the last part, and maybe the most important part when it comes to balancing the delegation, is the heiji part, the value distribution. It means that we want to align user value with the value for the creator. So that means if you are creating something good, it will be something, part of that will actually go down to your own pocket. So let's see how this could be done in a good way then. Let's start actually in the middle. So we start in the Dan part, the users. And here we can say that we want to see the customers as its co-creators. We want a 0 distance to the customers. So we're actually sitting in the lab, trying to deeply understand what they are wanting. We want to be great in the user experience. This means that we, instead of just producing things and then spending a lot of money on marketing and trying to get people to buy it, we do the other way around. We try to listen to the customers and understand what are they really needing and how can we help them. So instead of having your manager as a boss, actually your customer is your boss. And instead of focusing on reducing cost, we are focusing on creating fantastic products and getting happy customers. This is not new. We have seen this before. A very common example is Janne Carlson, the CEO of Scandinavian Airlines many, many years ago. And he's had this wise saying. He said that we used to fly airplanes. Now we need to learn how to fly people. Totally different mindset. Okay, so let's go to the next part. We go for the first one, the REN, the people. So the idea is to move the people from being order takers to becoming entrepreneurs. And so we want to make it easy to start a new business. And what is it with the business? Well, the thing when you need to start a new business, you need to consider the parts of Michael Porter's generic value chain. I think I misspelled that. Never mind. There's a lot of things you need to have. So even though you come up with a great idea, it's like, oh my God, I need to have this all things in place before I can do anything. I need to have the marketing and sales, inbound logistics, operations, technology development, a lot of infrastructure and finance and all that. So most people just give up and say, oh, okay, it was a good idea, but I can't do much about it. So what HeYi and the idea of RenDanHeYi, what they are doing is actually saying, hey, we have all that. So if you have a great idea, we have the infrastructure behind it. They call it that they have a service platform. So you can come with your idea and you can easily reach out to developers of different kinds and just say, this is my idea. Can I, together with you, actually develop this? And the thing is, if you don't have the money from the start, which is true for a lot of people, you can actually go to the CEO and say, like in Shark Tank or Draknästet, as it's called in Swedish, you can go to those business angels or risk capitalism, where you can ask for money and say, this is my idea, you can present it. And if they say, well, it's a great idea, they will actually partially buy part of your new idea. So you both benefit from this. And the thing with Hire is that they believe in something called the platform economy. That means that you're doing things with actually companies outside your own company. So you break the borders, not just the organizational borders, but also the company borders. And what they have said is, if you are able to get someone outside to invest in your idea, we will almost guarantee to invest the same amount. And this is just a way to help those people with ideas to actually find someone outside the company to work together with. Okay, so let's look at the last part, the value distribution. So we have the situation, we have the customers, the users, and we want to be close to them, so zero distance. Instead of, sending like a key account manager or a salesperson or a project manager or something, we create a small group of people just focusing on that segment, that product or that segment of customers. And we call those micro enterprises. They could be actually from about one person to maybe a couple of hundred, but not more than that. And we make sure that they have this P&L ownership. That means they are owning the profit and the loss. And this is the idea that if we are able to run this company in a good way, we will actually earn from it, all of us inside the company. But again, micro enterprises, that's too small. We can't deliver. I mean, this is a home appliance. That means we are building washing machines and dishing machines and ovens and things like that, refrigerators. We can't do that with just a couple of people, like 20, 50 people. But here again, we have those service platforms. And actually, they work as micro enterprises as well. They are selling their services internally to the other ones. So if you are sitting in HR and you're doing things that the micro enterprises are not willing to pay for, I'm sorry, you don't have a business. And if this looks strange for you, actually it's not, because this is how, by the way, society is working. And that is the basic idea, to come up with an idea how we can organize this company in a way that it looks more like a society, because we know that when society grows, we're actually having higher profitability and productivity per person. So if this is how the company looks like, what is a person like the CEO doing? Well, actually, he or she is an enabler, removing barriers, setting vision, identifying gaps, and acting as an advisor. Have we seen that before? Yeah. It's actually what we usually call the agile leadership. And part of that is the servant leadership. So yeah, we've seen it before. Okay, that was the introduction. So I would actually say that I think that RenDanHeYi is for innovation what Lean has been for production. So let's see a couple of examples here. We can start with this example. Gongji, he took his kids to get a vaccine shot, and while being there, he was seeing that the door to the refrigerator was always open, and knowing that vaccine needs to be stored in cold, he was thinking, isn't that destroying the vaccine? So he asked the people working there, and they said, yeah, it does, but we need the vaccine so often that we leave the door open to make it easier for the next person. But it's the same, well, I guess some vaccine you use a lot, and for that I can understand that it's not a problem. But what about the vaccine that is not used a lot? If they are in this refrigerator with the open door, what would happen? And I say, yeah, we know it's actually destroyed and we have to throw it away. So that is a lot of waste, right? Yeah, it is. But, it's a stressful situation. So I was thinking, okay, maybe the problem is that we have refrigerators with just one door, storing a lot of different vaccines. So all the vaccines need to be exposed for heat, even though it's not even of interest to have that door open. So he was thinking, why not create refrigerators that looks like this instead, having 8 doors? So 7 of the doors could be closed while we are grabbing for one sort of vaccine. So he came back, he asked this idea, what should we do about, can I get some help doing this? And of course, the people at manufacturing and finance and sales and so on, they were saying yes, because they were also enterprises. They wanted to deliver some service. So they created this, and they worked very, very close to the customers to know how to build it, to make it easy to use and all that. So that was that story, and they made a lot of money out of it. But there's one more part of this, because since they were working very closely to the people working at giving vaccine shots, they discovered a lot of other things. Like they were looking at the whole chain, and they saw problems almost everywhere. For instance, it was hard to schedule appointment. It was when you turn up, it was hard to stay in the queuing part, and then they had problems with the record keeping and quality problems when the administration of those drugs, and finally even the ambience was more or less depressing. It looked like a hospital, so kind of made the kids afraid. And since you know about this platform economy thing, he was thinking, okay, we can't solve all this, but now I have a very good relation with the people working here. So why not find out some other companies that can help? So together with a lot of companies, they actually solved all those parts, and that become even stronger, because now they could go to a place giving those vaccines, vaccine centers, and offer them the whole solution. Everything that is missing, that is so much more valuable than just being able to offer a new refrigerator. So now you can actually see here some photos of different vaccine centers. Looks much nicer than a hospital, I must say. Okay, so next idea. It was a problem. The thing is, in China, how it works is that during the New Year, people travel home because they want to get home, they want to meet their parents, and they want to eat mother's great Beijing duck. The problem this year was that it was a pandemic. So people are not allowed to travel. And that meant that a lot of people that have been young people that have moved to the cities far away from their parents and that Beijing duck from mother, they couldn't get that. And that was a big problem. So a couple of people were saying, okay, let's fix this, because we believe that we can do something more than just creating stoves and ovens. So we were thinking, how can we create those so they are creating the perfect Beijing duck? First of all, they needed to understand that they were not owning the whole chain. So they went to creators of pots and pans and said, what about if our stove could be talking to your pot? Then they can communicate something about the heat, the humidity, for how long they could stop when needed, and so on. So that's what they did. They started to build a communication between the pots and pans and the stove and the oven. And that opened up for a possibility to actually create something really tasty. And then they partnered up with some famous chefs and said, if you could control the humidity, the temperature, and everything for the food, could you then in some way program this so it could create really great Beijing duck? And say, yes, I think we could do that. So they tried this, and they called this, they were very inspired about that Internet of Things. They had already organized like Internet of Things, but now they had also invented the Internet of Food, where all the parts are talking to each other. So you could buy this package, you just scan it, and then the oven knows exactly what it needs to be doing. So just put it in, and then you start the oven, it knows what it's cooking, and then after, I think for Beijing duck, it's like 24 hours or something like that. And after 24 hours, you have the perfect Beijing duck done. This works very well. So what they said was, when they went from just being a stupid refrigerator or stupid washing machine or stupid whatever, some sort of appliance, going smart, just adding a app to it, their revenue doubled. But when they understand this idea of the platform, when they could be talking to things done by other creators, then suddenly the revenue, what do you call that, get 5 times higher. So the Internet of Food was when different pots and pans and so on were talking to the stoves and their owns. They invented the Internet of Clothes, so that the washing machine could talk to the clothes. You can imagine that your washing machine is saying, hey, wait a minute, you have a lot of white clothes in here and 1 red sock. Is that the way you want it to be? Or it could be saying that, well, you're actually washing this in 60 degrees. You could do it in 40 degrees, if you like, to save some money, better for the environment and so on. And I'm thinking, if this works so well, why not? What would happen if we have Internet of Groceries? You get home, you just ask your refrigerator, is this something I should eat today because it's getting old? Could you suggest a recipe for all the grocery I have at home? Or if I go shopping, what do I need to buy? And so on. It's not too far away. So what is the result then? Well, actually, from Hire, there has been created 5 unicorn companies. And here in Sweden, we are very proud of the, I think about 35 we have. But if we compare the sizes and the people, that would mean that Hire would have 400 to 500 unicorns. So they're much more effective in creating those. And they also are the top brand for 12 years in a row in the monitoring, the Euromonitor investigations. So now it's very simple to say, oh, okay, but yeah, we heard this before. It's Chinese. It's about their culture there. This will never work anywhere else. But the interesting is that it actually does. Here's an example. General Electrics. They had one department called Appliances, GE Appliances. And no, it was one of those quite boring companies. It was giving money in return, yes, but nothing much was happening. So they decided to sell it, and they sold it to Hire 2016. And the interesting is, when you follow this company for just 5 years, what would happen? First of all, they went from being classified as a machine bureaucracy to being classified as one of those highly innovative Silicon Valley companies. And the next thing was that 2016, they had like 0 growth. 2021, they had double-digit growth. So earning a lot more money. And the interesting is, it was not like they were changing all the people. Okay, the CEO, he didn't want to stay anymore. He didn't believe in this. But the CTO and most of the rest of the top management team, they stayed. And the CTO took over as the CEO. And so it's almost the same people. It's just another philosophy how to run a company that made this difference. So that was the end. If you are more interested in this, which I hope you are, then I can recommend to join us at Leading Complexity. This year we will have Annika Staber. She has been studying GE appliances for a couple of years and have a lot of knowledge about RenDanHeYi. She will be talking this year, but if you sign up for Leading Complexity, you also get access to last year's talk, which was made by Bill Fisher, who's really been investigating higher as well. And so you can listen more to that. Okay, I'm ready for... Yeah, thank you, Michael, for putting the link in the chat. We have some other questions here, right? No, that was from you, Michael. There's a lot of mosquitoes here, I'm sorry. Does your employees innovate new services? No, I don't think so. How to handle this in public sector? Oh, that is a really good question. The problem with the public sector is that there are, sorry for telling you this, but there's a lot of journalists that is just loving someone from the public sector to spend money on something that is not working. That is perfect scope. But in complexity, you have to innovate. And if you have to innovate, you have to fail. That is just, you can't innovate without failing, and you can't survive complexity without innovating. So it's a very tough situation. And you know that if I fail, then I will have a lot of pages written on the tabloids about my failure. But I've seen one version coming from Arbetsförmedlingen, the ones helping people to get job. What they are doing is that they're saying, maybe we are not here to help people get job. Maybe we are here to make sure that people get job. And that is a totally different thing. So what they are doing is that they are opening up, they're building a platform, just like Hire is doing. So they're building a platform saying, hey, if you have a great idea about how to give people a job, matching people with jobs, if you have that idea, we will do everything we can. For instance, we open up the APIs. So you can get access to our database. And hopefully you can share what you have in your database, and we can help you put that information somewhere else. So I think that is a great idea, because if a couple of people starts a small company using your API, and they are failing, it's not like any journalist would care about that. It's like, oh, okay, that happens everywhere. And your job could be multiplied. Whatever you do could be used by maybe 100 of entrepreneurs. John Eric, is that kind of helping you? Yeah, okay, good. We have 2 more minutes if anyone else. Oops. Let's see, stop sharing.
What about if you're an entrepreneur, intrapreneur basically, and I think, how do you handle if you don't find a team or innovation to kind of participate in at the moment?
If you are okay, so are you coming up with the idea?
Okay, now how do I join a team, or how do I create a team? And if I don't have a team, what happens then?
Well, it's if you have the idea, you could just reach out to everyone else saying, I have this idea, anyone who likes to join. If you want to join, you just listen to those things, or you go and talk to them and say, hey, I think I can contribute in this. Just like that. It's think of society, and it makes sense.
So truly kind of, they're micro enterprises.
Yeah, that's the idea. Okay, time is up.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I told everyone you're a great storyteller. It was fantastic to hear the stories, really inspiring. So yeah, I put the link to Leading Complexity and the code if you want to join and hear more about this from Annika and Bill Fisher. And also we have Dr. Patrick, who has worked there. So actually we have 3 speakers that we'll touch upon these types of organizations and how to organize in the future. Okay, we have 10-minute break before we go to the closing session, and then we have to switch Zoom links again back to the one we started with this morning, but you have it also in the schedule there. So see you in 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.